Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to the show. Glad you could stop by and hang out with me here for a few minutes. We are going to talk about having idols in our closet and things we hide from. And God knows where we are in our life and in our hearts and things that we, try to put before Him. Going to talk about that. Also, the Spirit has left the building. That's what they kind of say. And I'm just kind of curious to, what does everybody, you know, think about in the situations of where we are and what we have in today with so many distractions and all the different kind of stuff going on. So Ezekiel chapter 10, I'm going to look at a verse or two here and there. It's going to be the main reading. We'll also look back and, need to mention in chapter 1, because the cherubs are so cool to talk about. Everybody likes to talk about the cherubs and what they look like and that kind of stuff. So how many things do you think we're trying to hide from Him in our own day-to-day walks and lives? We know we can't hide the idols and things that we worship above God. We can't, hide those things. So where does all this fit in our lives in faith versus culture? Let's get started right here. All right. Everybody, welcome into the show. Glad you come by and hang out with me for a few minutes. If you hadn't already subscribed to the channel, go ahead and make this the thing of your day. And thank you for hanging out, coming by and watching the channel for a little while. Big Mad Experiment. Like, share, hit the notification bell if you'd like to. All right, let's get into this, guys. Let's go ahead and just get right in here into the middle of it. Now, the cherubs are so cool, and everybody likes to talk about them. That's not the main focal point of this study. It's more about what are we putting ahead of God in our lives, and also something that kind of come across my mind while studying this topic. Purification comes through judgment. So if you want to follow along here, chapter 10 in Ezekiel, this is a really, if you hadn't read Ezekiel, it's a good read. I mean, for new believers, I think they'll be drawn to it because of the cherubs and this description of these things, man, these wheels inside of wheels and the wings. And he describes exactly how these living creatures, he calls in verse 15, how they raise up upward and how they move, through the temple. But, honestly, we're talking about the more deeper meaning behind this of the Spirit of God, literally moved out of the temple of His people there in Israel. And just start at chapter 1, and He sees these different faces of the cherubs, and they have the faces of it's like an ox, an eagle, a lion, and a man, and they all represent, to some theologians in the studyings of the Gospels, they represent Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John for some theologians, I'll say. So let's get in here on verse 18 of chapter 10. It says, "Then the glory of the Lord departed from over the threshold of the temple." And what I found interesting, that let's remember that. We got that bookmarked, chapter 10, verse 18. And it says it stopped above the cherub. Okay. Now let's say that's not the cherub moving. It's talking about, literally, Ezekiel says, the glory of the Lord departed from over the threshold of the temple. Now, if you don't understand the layout, just real quick, Google, you can see how the tents and it was laid out and how the upper room was made and the cloth and the tent behind the tent and the secret room and the upper room and the burnt offerings and the ashes and how all that stuff was done, and you could have a better understanding of it. But what we're looking at here is that the glory of the Lord had departed from over the threshold of the temple and stopped above the cherub. So, this, what he's seeing here, this vision, for the first time he had seen it was over the Kabar River, and he wasn't really sure, and it kind of startled him, but now he has a better understanding of what it is. So, do we have an understanding of where we're supposed to be in our life, or do we understand that things can come in and out of our life, and it's good to have hobbies and habits of. I mean, listen, no, I mean, look, this is a real channel as you can get, and real show as you're going to get, real honest. That nobody has a locked in on, 24/7 Bible study. We do have other things we do outside of that, but are we making it an important part of our day? Some people like to read first thing in the morning, start their day. Sometimes I do. Sometimes I'll do some Bible study right before I go into work, and sometimes later in the evening when I kind of got other things out of the way. And to me, it seems like where I have failed through the day, that Bible study toward the end of the day for me helps me, but everybody can do it their own way. So, do we hide these idols in our hearts? And God's talking about how the Spirit moved in the old temple, and how he stopped over the entrance. It says here on 18, over the east gate of the Lord's house, and the glory of the God of Israel was above them. And it goes on here into chapter 11 and down into 9. It says that he will drive you out of the city, that Ezekiel's telling the Israelites this, that he'll drive them out of the city and deliver you into the hands of the foreigners and inflict punishment on you. 10 goes on to say that you will fall by the sword, and I will execute judgment on you at the borders of Israel. Then you will know that I'm the Lord. This city will not be a pot for you, nor will you be the meat in it. I'll execute judgment on you at the borders of Israel, and you will know that I am the Lord. For you have not followed my decrees or kept my laws, but have conformed to the standards of the nations around you. That's exactly what we're doing today. You have not kept my laws, which thank God Jesus came, because if he didn't fulfill all those, which he said he did, and the commandments that we can't keep perfectly because we have adulterous ideas, because Christ said if you lusted in your heart, then you've already sinned. Not just as my father wrote it, as adulterers, not to be an adulterist. If you've thought it, then you've already committed it, right? So with all that being said, in all heartedness, man, the Jews have been, wow, what a story. They have, what a letdown. Just think about your first child. Yeah, those out there that have children, and you have your first kid, and we're talking about idols and stuff, and how we can clean out our closet of all these idols and all things from in our lives and that type of stuff. But you have to recognize that the first real kid from God is Israel's, his children. God, man, what a letdown. And I think, a lot of theologians believe that in how we, interpret the Bible, that they're going to have a chance, at the end to really just to a large group of the, Jewish culture to be saved and to be able to find glory through Jesus, that they completely deny God. He gave them everything. He gave them so many chances, and they wandered in the desert hungry. They're just constantly looking for something through all they've been through. They were slaves to these as far back as 3000 BC that we know of, from Egyptians and Mesopotamians, that, we know about the written word, and even just language in general, and just study of history, where they come from, just to be brought out of all that, finally taken to the city. Joshua is blessed by God. They walk around the city for days in the walls of Jericho. People know that story. It's a very cool story. And how Joshua, blowed that down and defeated the city of Canaan, and for it to become Israel from his people here. And God's literally in their temple, and they're being so smug and arrogant that their own worship of stuff in their own minds is exactly what we're doing today. You know, God can move away from you. I'm not one of the once saved, always saved. I think you need to add the last two words, if saved. If you're really saved and your heart's been really changed and rendered, and you've become, understand the real love and modesty and enrichment of Christ, then those things that you did before, you're not going to want to do anymore. You're not going to care to do all these other things. So those idols and things that you used to have in your heart, they go away. You put those things away, because in the deepest parts of the closets that we have, God knows your heart. And you can have other things to do. Like I said a while ago, we're going to have habits or hobbies. And I don't know, I used to deer hunt a lot, or maybe used to race cars, which, if we're breaking man's law, then, we're breaking the law. But not to say we can't have other things to do, but we can't hide those things. And that's what Ezekiel was really talking. I think really his whole idea that the people thought, that the Israelites there back then thought, I guess, that they could push these idols over in the corner or something in these buildings, and like if they hid it from the people, that they wouldn't know that they're, worshiping idols still. Golly, they're the worst kid. All they've been through, man. And he even sent one of his own people. Jesus came as a Jewish person just like them for that reason, to show them that it's not about all this outside stuff. It's just not. He could have come back, and that's what they're looking for still. They're looking for somebody to come back in this gold robe with, a cloud of angels, following him around, I guess, all the time. He's, going to be the king of us, and he needs to look sharper and dress better than the rabbis. But they still choose idols. And God tells them he's going to drag them out to the edge of the city. He's just denounced all of them. I have to send my son to where the word could be spread all over the world. But these people still continue over and over. 13 goes on to say, now, as I was prophesying, Pelita, the son of Benaiah, died, and he fell face down and cried out loud the voice, Allah, sovereign Lord, will you completely destroy the remnant of Israel? Asking a question. Now, the promise of Israel returns. The word of the Lord came to me, Ezekiel says, Son of man, the people of Jerusalem have said of your fellow exiles and all the other Israelites, they are far away from the Lord. This land was given to us as our possession. This land was given to us as our possession. So not, and I could go into a history lesson about Palestinians. The idol worshiping, cult worshiping, that's them. That's their whole. And I got 3 pages of notes that I studied about way back 1,000 years before, where the Muslim culture come from, the Southern Asian group, and that moved into the Zoroastrian type religion that they got into about, and Muhammad being a little boy, he didn't have no parents. He lived with his great uncle maybe, and rode town to town. And he took up all this different things that he saw, and he come up with his own religion, but he's, illiterate. And he was just nothing but a Charles Manson type. Really, I mean, honestly, that's probably the best comparison I could think of. And I know this is not about that, but I'm just saying, this land and the property of where they are far away from the Lord. That this land was given to us as our possession. Therefore, I say, This is what the sovereign Lord says, although I sent to them far away among the nations and scattered them among the countries, yet for a little while I've been a sanctuary for them in the countries where they have went to. So therefore you say, this is what the sovereign Lord says, I gathered you from the nations and bring you back from the countries where you have been scattered, and I will give you back the land of Israel again, which he did. Because we know what happened in the 40s and that type of stuff. It's a good read, man. Just go in Ezekiel, and you can start here where I'm at. You can go and read chapter 10 to chapter 11. And it's a great read. And it's just about, don't feel like you're the only one out there with struggling with identity of making bad choices and putting things ahead of God. And don't beat yourself up so bad. We're supposed to be of a happy spirit, you know, and I think it's good to hold yourself accountable, but the deceiver has been defeated. Okay. And we'll kind of talk about this lastly, and we'll get out of here. Didn't want to make this long, just a 20, 30-minute talk here to stir interest and to get you reading and understanding. You know, we are to be of cheer. I mean, God left us what we're supposed to do. The disciples didn't know God. I mean, they had all these commandments and had Moses' law. And so, God, I'm so confused. What do you want us to do? He said, love God and love each other. Those two things sum up the 10 commandments. 5 was for people, and 5 was things God like. Not worshiping gods above him, or to things like, you know, don't be a gluttonous and don't, you know, just want things because your neighbor has them. Those type things. So if you're trying to do that on a day-to-day basis and you stay in prayer, I think fasting is a part of studying and growing in the Spirit. And you remember that the daily walk that we are on and things that we go through on a day-to-day basis is harder because you're holding yourself to a special higher platform, because what you've chosen to do. And that's where the difference in all the other religions, you choose this free will and this free offer that Christ has given us. Not like all the other religions, they're all works, all of them. From Jewish faith to the Muslims, this all works. You have to work your way into this, and you can ask. I've seen people interview Jews and Muslims both. Their books, they bounce off each other. Old Testament stuff. Are you going to heaven? Well, you know, I guess if I've done the right. No, that shouldn't be the answer. People, I'm here to tell you today that Jesus Christ gives you life after death because he defeated it. He's the only risen Savior. The Muslims believe that his body was changed for someone else. The Jews don't believe that he was the Messiah. He's just some guy that died. If their own books that tells you, guys, there was an eclipse and an earthquake and dead people walking around the street. The sheet literally tore in the temple, and they still don't believe it. I'm not making this stuff up. Well, I'm just reading there to you what God told them. He run them plumb out of the city. They're like bad drug addicts. They can't kick the habit of worshiping idols. From the beginning of time, Moses left them for a couple of weeks and the days to get the 10 commandments on the Mount Sinai, and they come back down. They already built a golden cow. Golly, how weak of a spirit you are. Man, I just can't understand how these people are so weak. Yeah, they have given so many chances. And Christ gives us so many chances every day. Guys, there's so many situations you're thankful for, and there's things going on around you spiritually that angels and your protector, Christ, and the Holy Spirit that's with you, that you pray for to be with you, has protected you from things that you don't even know. If you just knew half the stuff that's going on around you, it's there for the offer. The same Spirit, the same one that rose Christ from the dead, it's the same Spirit that you have available. You remember back in the day, if you're 45 or older, remember you had to order like the old Tyson fights on the HBO box. You'd have to call them and they'd pipe it in on Channel 99, you know. Well, there was a little bootleg thing that you could get, a little filter. It looked like a little air tank canister, and you could screw it in on the back of your cable box, and it filtered it out to where you could watch the fight for free. Gosh, that's exactly what Christ is. It's free. You get a cheat code to life after here. Listen, it don't matter if you're saved or if you're not. You are going to die. You're not going to live forever, no matter who you are, no matter what your belief is. If you're living in the middle of the Amazon forest and don't know purple from pink or the difference in a camera or a pair of rattlesnake boots because you've never seen it. If you don't know, it don't matter. We're all going to die. But there's a spiritual part of us, and we have a soul, and we have a body. I heard this lady say the other day it was like a pair of gloves. That God was like the hand inside the glove, and when the hand comes out, it's just an empty glove, and it's worthless. That's what Christ offers you. So if you're having problems with idols and cleaning out your closet, you know that if you're really saved, once saved, always saved. If you was really saved, if you meant what you said and you've turned from your old ways, and you do have slips and stumbles along the way because narrow is the gate. Read about the story of the camel. Literally, these things Christ talks about, man, I don't know how people miss this. These are literal stories. There was a small gate you could go through in the town from the market, and the camels could barely fit through them. They'd have to take off their stuff off the packs of the camels. They would pack these camels out to take goods to town. There was a small, narrow gate. The big, wide gate was open and smooth because it was walked on by many. The narrow gate, you had to get down, take the stuff off the camel because they barely fit. God's telling you to come as you are. You don't have to do nothing. You don't have to get cleaned up. He's going to clean you up. The offer is free and it's there. And once you got through that little gate, the road was a little more bumpy because ain't many people traveled it. Because people don't want to do something that's hard. People don't want to listen. People are going to skip by this channel, and I'm telling you about the opportunity of salvation. But if I had naked girls on here dancing and throwed up some stuff like that, I'd have a million views. Or if I was playing a video game, I'd have 2 million views. And Facebook and YouTube throttles these videos. The ones where I really got on a debate with some people from other ideology, they get throttled way down. But if just one person watches and I can make one person curious, don't believe me. Call me a liar. There's only one risen Savior. There's only one of them, Jesus, that died and rose from the dead. Islam says his body was changed. Lie. That's a lie. You follow an illiterate fool that traveled with his uncle, belittled women, led a war that killed thousands of people, beheaded actual people that worship Christ. That's who you're following. And the Jews don't even believe Christ was the Messiah or nothing. They're still doing the same thing they was doing right here in Ezekiel. We just read it. And he's going to drag them out in the street and drag them to the end of town and be done with them. He wanted them. There's people. He wanted them to bring in this way up to everybody. It's not just for them. Stop building these walls up around the town just where the elite can come and shop and You have to have these Caesar dollars so that you can buy and trade and that type of stuff. That's the stuff they were talking about in Revelations. You can't buy or sell without this mark because you're lost. You don't have his word in your head, in your right hand, your good hand. You're not helping anybody. You're just putting people down because that's what he called them, a pit of vipers. And if you knew my Father, you would know who I am, but you don't know me, he told the Pharisees. You worship the devil. Peter and John, all of them told them that they were sons of the devil. And you couldn't argue with them. Don't waste your time on that stuff. Focus on what you can do to not put things above time. Spend some time just to read his word. And know this lastly, I mentioned this in the first part of it, and this is what we'll end with, this little notes I got here. Purification through judgment. That we must have the not so good times so we can begin a purification process newly, daily. Okay? All right, guys, love you. God knows your heart, knows where you are in your life, knows if you're studying, and it's a personal relationship. It's something that you're going to have to go out and do on your own, but don't put it somewhere else. Don't go hide stuff like God don't know. I mean, ladies and gentlemen, God has left the building. The show's over. There's a point to where at some time, guys, the Holy Spirit's only going to reach out to you so many times. So many times you're going to get an opportunity to know him. Stop playing with your life. Stop playing with foolishness and be serious about it. And do know that there are going to be stuff that's hard, and you're going to fall. Because that narrow gate I told you about is hard to go through. And you got to take everything off and just be honest. Don't be like this old story of Israel where God's Spirit literally left the temple. He wanted to go out into the world and let his own people be the ones to lead this whole thing, and they're still standing there at the wall with leather on their arm and blocks on their heads. God almighty, how do they not see it? He sent his own son to die for them. I don't know, man. You just can't get through to some people, and that's just how it is. So, all right. Thank you guys for watching the Big Mac Experiment. Like, subscribe, hit the bell, and all that kind of cool stuff. We love you and we appreciate you.